Hey, I'm Max.
And I'm Alex. Today we're going to be talking about bees and pollinators and why they're important for the environment. We're also going to be talking about why they die and how we can prevent that. Here's Mr. Beam with some more information.
Okay.
So why do you think bees are dying?
Okay. Well, that's a complicated question. Some of it is the fact that a lot of times homeowners don't practice bee safety when they're putting out pesticides. Anytime you're using any type of powder, the bee is designed to collect pollen. It'll collect powder like a 7 dust, just as easy. Even if you use it at night, it's still there the next morning. So you have to be careful. Not only that, the people tend to use these pesticides on crops where bees like to pollinate, like squash and cucumbers, anything in the cucumber family. On top of that, there's a lot of environmental stressors. There's a lot of pests that the bees have had that they haven't had 20 years ago. Small hive beetle is killer. It puts a lot of stress. I've had a lot of bees abscond just because they just got too many small hive beetles, which also makes all the other stuff, the pressures on them from, wax moths to rural mites and trach mites, all these different diseases. When there's a lot of stress on an animal, they have a harder time dealing with everything. And I recommend, if you're going to use pesticides, to do certain things. One, put them out in the evening after the bees are gone in. Bees don't forage at night. Two, use liquid pesticides. Three, try not to spray the bloom. If you're spraying the bloom, you're trying to kill the bees. But for the most part, if you don't have to spray, don't. Use good common sense and try your best to create a more organic production system and protect the bees. Always think about our pollinators.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about why bees are important for the environment. Bees are important to the crops and animals that we eat. If there's no bees, there will be no plants that need pollination. If there's no plants, then the animals that will die off. So if there's no plants or animals to eat, the humans will be stuck with eating things like corn and rice, and over time, that would really wear down on the humans, and we would eventually die. Einstein once said, "If the bees disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have 4 years left to live." Next, we have a couple of video clips that are going to talk about neonicotinoids, which are the most deadly pesticides to bees.
Amount of dying going on in bees. Over recent years, new insecticides have been introduced that are deadly to bees. Neonicotinoids, a chemical family similar to nicotine, was approved in the early 1990s as an alternative to chemicals like DDT. They attack insects by harming their nervous systems. Today, they are the most widely used insecticides in the world. Next, we will see how neonicotinoids are spread to the bees.
First, when farmers apply neonicotinoids to crops that rely on pollinators, such as watermelons, the plants absorb the insecticide, which then spread throughout the plant, including in pollen and nectar, which bees use as food. These insecticides also move in groundwater to weeds surrounding crop fields.
Here's Max telling us why bees matter so much to the environment.
Without bees, there would be very little fruits and vegetables picked from. They pollinate things such as almonds, raspberries, cranberries, cherries, pumpkins, peaches, lettuce, blueberries, cantaloupe, watermelon, sunflowers, and sweet potatoes. Most of these fruits and vegetables are in things we would not even think about, such as candy, gummies, smoothies, and salads. Remember that these organic plants have many different vitamins that we need to survive. Did you know that bees could even have an effect on the world's population? Since bees play a major factor in food production, without them there could become a food shortage. With no food to feed the Earth's population, many would die of starvation. People would be forced to eat only certain foods which might not contain all of the needed vitamins to survive. In an article by the World Bee Day Association, it reads, "Bees also act as indicators of the state of environment. Their presence, absence, or quantity tells us when something is happening with the environment and that appropriate action is needed. By observing the development and health of bees, it is possible to assert changes in the environment and implement the necessary precaution measures in time. This shows us that bees are even a source of knowledge for our ecosystem. With an animal this important, we need to pay close attention to its population and do all we can to help it grow." So now that you've learned how important bees and pollinators are to the environment, what will you do to help them? You can do things like plant a bee garden, go chemical free for the bees, become a citizen scientist, provide trees for the bees, create a bee bath. You can build homes for the native bees, give beehives and native bees homes, teach tomorrow's bee stewards, host a fundraiser, and support local beekeepers and organizations. Here's a website you can visit to learn more.
Remember, without bees, you may not eat your favorite foods ever again.